Thursday, June 21st, 2012. A lot of financial carnage in the markets today. Just couldn't help but notice. TBT at 1550, amazing. U.S. Treasury yields 2.7% on the 30-year. So, and then I noticed interest rates on the 30-year mortgages and 15-year mortgages hit record lows. So you have record lows on long-term U.S. interest rates, and Spain sells 5-year bonds at a record yield. So Spain has the highest bond yield on their 5 years since they went with the euro. So you have a mixed bag here, but it basically continues to spell depression. Headlines are pretty grim. IMF sees euro crisis at a critical stage. U.S. stocks tumble amid concern about slowdown, and then banks downgraded. More banks downgraded. Moody's downgrades 14 banks and Goldman Sachs, and it's in European news. It's here. Credit Suisse got knocked down three notches, and it was talking about Bank of America knocked down and Citigroup, and that those banks are just above the level of junk, a couple levels above junk. So despite the trillions in bailouts, everybody, the crisis continues to unfold, and I sometimes I'm at a loss to explain how it's over, because people think there's going to be hope that they can be fixed, but it was designed to collapse, and it's collapsing. So the question is when. And the biggest, I think, the investment of the lifetime, once again, so I'm looking at TBT here, and I've been looking at that lately. But if you have interest rates, for instance, people that have been in bonds in the last year, last few months, have made a killing, made a fortune. So people have held bonds for the last 20 years. They've been in a bull market. The question is, when does that reverse? Well, you have Operation Twist, where Bernanke is, selling short-term paper and buying long-term paper. And of course, Bernanke can also use the Federal Reserve to print money, yes, out of thin air, push a button, and buy bonds. So there's Bernanke, the Federal Reserve, the largest central bank, on earth, as far as, I think, influence. I know the ECB has a lot of influence, but the Federal Reserve, the dollar is still, the world currency, even though that's changing. You're watching what's going on with China, Japan, and other things. That's changing. These changes are going to happen abruptly. And when China decides to dump their $2 trillion of debt, and the BRICS nations say, you know what, we don't really feel comfortable holding 30-year U.S. debt. And and Bernanke says, I'm going to stop this. And Bernanke can do that. He could let interest rates rise tomorrow. He could raise rates. So, for instance, people have made a killing on bonds, but people are going to get killed that continue to hold bonds. When's that going to happen? I think in the next few months. I think we'll get some more bad news out of Europe. People have this false sense of a flight to safety of the U.S. dollar, which, they'll invest at 30 years and 10 years. I'm looking at interest rates going out 2 years, and I'm just blown away. People think we're going to go into depression, which is true, but I guess they think that the United States will still be solvent, which is not true. Greece is in bad shape. Spain's in bad shape. 2 or 3 years down the road, the United States will be in much worse shape than those two countries. But when it goes, it's going to really go. So, Spain, record bond yields on the 5-year, and the United States, record low interest rates on 30-year mortgages, 15-year mortgages. Very interesting thing. So yeah, there's insiders that are making billions and billions. And people won't believe if I go further than that, but oh man, it's just, this collapses on purpose. But people if you bought, let's say they come in and buy Spanish debt right now at 7%, and then all of a sudden the EU says, you know what, we're going to bail out Spain. Their stress test that they just had didn't look too bad. They only need $78 billion, not over 100. Or 78 billion. They don't need over 110 billion. I'm converting it into dollars from euros. But you know what? Things are going to get worse and accelerate and get worse and worse and worse. And so what it's going to, these will be debt for nature swaps. That's where this is headed. It's not the end of the world. You know, I hear people say, hey, it's over if we don't turn this around. No, we're not going to turn this around because the mathematical fix is in. The United States cannot pay off the $166 trillion. The deficits of $1 trillion a year are not going to beat out. Is Greece, you know, with their little austerity program, are they getting better? No. So tax rates are going to go up in the United States. Austerity programs at the United States. The welfare, once you get more than 50% of people on welfare, it's over because they're going to vote for the candidate that's going to continue giving them that free money. It's not benevolent and kind-hearted to want to give welfare. That's a false thing. So when people get together and go, hey, let's steal from people that are working and give to the people that aren't working, leads to collapse, and so we're very close to that. And today was indicative of that. Look, Asian stocks drop, and then oil. That's another sign of a depression coming. Oil at $78 a barrel. So, and then I was reading about the manipulation in the silver and gold markets. You know, there's people that can just do naked shorts on silver and gold. And so, yeah, I think gold will still go way up at some point. But no, I don't have a total inside line to the Federal Reserve. But how do I think about this? Okay, Bernanke, people are disappointed that he didn't liquefy, you know, the system more, didn't put more emphasis on QE3, more easy money. And so the markets go down because of that. Well, Bernanke could end up saying, hey, or they could bring in Paul Volcker, somebody like that they call a hawk, and they'll start raising interest rates. And I watch interest rates go from under 10% to 14% on a long bond. And so, for instance, just mathematically, on the 30-year bond, right now it's at 2.7%. So let's say they had their life savings in a 30-year bond, and they had a $100,000 30-year U.S. bond. Okay, 2.7%. They're getting 2.7% a year. They invested $100,000, and their interest off that is $2,700 a year. Fast forward a year, okay. China starts to unload. Brazil starts to unload. Japan unloads. And interest rates are, on the 30-year, 5.4%, which is a double. That person's $100,000, they'd still be getting their $2,700 a year, but the principal, their $100,000 would now be worth $50,000. And if it went to 11 point, 2.7, 5.4, 10.8. If it went to 10.8%, then that bond would be worth $25,000. They would have lost $75,000 of their corpus or principal position on that bond. And I think interest rates are headed over 10%. And I think it will happen within 18 months to 2 years. And the people that make the appropriate bets and get out while the system's still functioning, well, I think it will be unbelievable. Unbelievable. And there's ways to do that. But you know, it's so corrupt now, with the banks being bailed out, and they're still downgraded. Crisis is not over, everybody. It's not over. It's just developing, and we're going to watch it go through. Will people be left over? You know, I know I kind of went off on Alex Jones, but I think I proved right. Ron Paul's not going to endorse Mitt. Ron Paul's going to stand by the Constitution till his dying breath, in my estimation. Alex was saying, if we don't turn this around, humans will become extinct. No, we're not. There's a remnant that are going to come through this. And I personally think some of you guys are. Sometimes I wonder about myself. You know, I was talking to a friend, she said, Brent, you need to be less arrogant. And there's probably something to that. But sometimes you say, hey, yeah, it's not worth it. I'm just going to drop out, give up, because the struggle, when you know what's going to happen, and you know that, you know, voting or saying, hey, go Ron Paul, it's not going to work. I love Ron Paul. I've been following him, promoting him for 4 or 5 years. I knew he wouldn't get in. Do I lose heart? No. I'm sad to see other people lose heart about that, but I don't lose heart. Bad day in the markets, but we're going to transition to a new economy. And those of you that see it first, you're going to be the leaders. You guys are going to be the leaders. So, that's what's going to happen. Get strong, get ready to lead, because when the crisis happens, the leaders will be those that see it now. The other people will be wandering around, whoa, there's no water, there's no food, whoa. Just prepare to lead, no matter how many faults you have. Work on your faults, strengthen your strengths. rock on. Take care. Ciao.